Hello and welcome to the Flipping and Wholesaling. What's it called? Flipping and Wholesaling in New York show, where I teach you. My name is Michael Pinter, where I teach you how to start flipping or wholesaling houses in New York, or if you're already doing it, how to grow your business. The truth is, I really show you how to flip or wholesale houses anywhere. New York is just the hardest place. Okay, so I got a question today by request, and that is talking about HOA properties. Let me explain what HOA means, what this entails, what's involved. HOA means Homeowners Association. So usually that means it's a condominium, which can be a high-rise building, or it can be a low-rise complex of properties, and there is a condominium board, and you have to pay a monthly fee to a homeowners association. There are also, I just saw a house yesterday that was more like a PUD, a planned unit development. So it wasn't really a condo. You didn't get a condo deed when you bought the property, but there's like a small HOA, homeowner association fee, and they're responsible for like shoveling the snow or shoveling the snow. Sometimes they're responsible for the gardening, that kind of thing. So there's something else that we're not talking about, and that is a co-op or a cooperative, right? Cooperatives are something that really only exist in New York, a little bit in Florida. I think there's a couple buildings in all of Los Angeles, but that's it. A co-op is something I personally recommend you stay away from, because when you buy a co-op, you are really subject to a lot of restrictions. And just to give you some example, just the way a co-op works is you don't even get a deed to the property. You get a stock certificate, so you own shares in the whole corporation, and you get a master lease that lets you use your property, your unit. But there are extreme restrictions on a cooperative. So, for example, there are a lot of cooperatives that don't let you rent, or they only let you rent for a certain amount of time. The biggest restriction on a co-op is any person you do rent to, if you can rent, or any person you sell to, has to be approved by the board. So just to give you one of 10 million nightmare stories, I'll give you two. My friend had a co-op in Manhattan. He found a buyer who was an extremely prominent and wealthy fellow. I think the guy made over $1 million a year, and this is 25 years ago. He had like $10 million in liquid assets. They were even talking about this guy possibly becoming a member of the Federal Reserve. That's how prominent this guy. He was like a chief economist for a huge international company, and the co-op board did not approve him. And they don't have to give a reason either, a private corporation. Another bad story, my wife's grandparents were European immigrants, Holocaust survivors. They wanted to buy a co-op in Manhattan, and they were told that no, and on the side they were told because they didn't want any Jews in the building. And that was the kind of thing that you can get away with. It probably was before fair housing laws, but even with fair housing laws, it's a private corporation. I think they can't tell you that they're discriminating, but they don't have to tell you why. So if the co-op board, is made up of people who don't like someone from a certain ethnicity or race, they can literally just reject them and not give you a reason. So I stay away from co-ops because I want the ability to sell to whoever I want to. I don't want somebody telling me who I can or can't sell to. Now, back to condominiums or PUDs, HOAs. So there are certain advantages and certain disadvantages to them. The first advantage is that if you got a condominium, let's say it's a high-rise or a low-rise, if it's big enough and there's enough activity, you should be able to comp out, which means you should be able to get a value on that unit pretty easily, right? If you got a 20-story building and you're a G and you're 14G and 12G and 4G sold, those are probably the exact same layout as yours, and you can pretty easily come up with a value, assuming it's active enough. Sometimes the problem is that the amenities in one condo project can be significantly better than others. So, for example, I spoke to a seller today who had a property in a very high-end condominium gated community in Jericho. Right, Jericho, for those of you that don't know, is one of the best school districts in the country. Jericho. I mean, when you drive by, I think it's Jericho Turnpike, and you see like Chaminade School, which is a private school, but still the public schools there are off the charts, amazing. And there are a lot of people who insist on going to a school district of that nature, right? There are a few good school districts, Jericho, Roslyn, great name, but Jericho is really, I think, one of the best. So there's always a big demand for Jericho, and this condominium is, these are $1 million condos. They're big. They're pretty much houses. They're townhouses, right? And The issue was there's almost no activity. It's not a lot of units. I think it's only 70 units, and nothing sold in the past 5 years. So it's hard. In that case, it's hard because I could look at other condominiums, but the other condominiums could have much better amenities. They could have much worse amenities. So I'd have to actually get into the nitty gritty on each of these condominiums to figure it out. Sometimes that's even harder to comp, right? And can you comp? When I say comp, I mean get comparable sales. I mean get a value. So can you comp out a property? Can you comp out a condo, and can you compare it to a single family? Sometimes you can, and sometimes you can't. There are a significant amount of older people that are looking to sell their house and move to a condominium because they don't want to shovel snow anymore. They don't want to tend to the gardening, and they don't want to. They want less maintenance on their property, and a condo usually does provide that, right? You don't have to shovel your snow, you don't have to do the gardening, that kind of thing. But there are people who don't want restrictions, because even on a regular condominium, some HOAs, some homeowners association do have restrictions in. Most have minimal restrictions. You can always sell it to, I believe you can always sell it to whoever you want. Some condos demand the right of first refusal, which means that if you sell it for X price and they think it's too low, they can go match it and buy it. And in general, that's because they don't want you to lower the prices, right? They don't want a sale price to go out for much lower. But some do have restrictions. When you can do construction work, for example, which contractors you can use, right? They may have a list. Some will restrict rentals, but it's very, very rare. Those are very rare. So if you deal with condominiums, it's rare that they're going to be restricted, but you should find out. So I spoke to a seller recently in Manhattan. It was a condo, but there was a land lease on the building that was over in like 10 years, and anybody buying there basically had to buy it for however long was left on the land lease, because it's an unknown situation where when the land lease is what's going to happen at the end of that lease. They may renew, they may not renew, they may sell the building. There's all the kinds of things they can do. So you need to look into a project and see what's going on. Unless it's a big enough project that you can just tell what's if there's a tremendous amount of activity, it's easier to come up with a value. But in situations like what I just told you, you may have to do some digging if you can't find comparable sales in that condo project. If you go to another one, it could be very different. That one may be not seen as not as nice as yours, and you may come up with a value too low. Or that one may be seen as much nicer than yours, right? That one may have a much better, a lot of these condo projects in Long Island, they have a clubhouse, they have a lot of them have a pool, a communal pool, a gym, that kind of thing, tennis courts. Some of those are much nicer. Some of them are redone, right? And that's another thing with a condo, is that sometimes there's an assessment coming. So on a condominium, and I knew this when I owned the condo in Florida, if the board votes to improve some of the common areas, they're going to hit all the owners with an assessment that has to be paid. And it's something you should definitely look into when you're buying a condo. I would call and say, are there any pending assessments? Because when you sell it, if that person hears, hey, there's going to be a $20,000 assessment paid over 10 months and it's an extra $2,000, someone may balk at that. So you need to find out about that. So on some level, it's a lot more work. On some level, if it's a very active, large condo project, it could be easier to come up with a value. But you need to look into it no matter what to see if this is a situation where there are any restrictions from the homeowners association, and if there's any pending assessments or assessments that are expected to come by soon. That's pretty much all I got on HOAs, homeowners association properties. I'm probably forgetting something. I apologize, but I hope this was helpful in general. If you're interested in all the ways I can help you, go to howtoflipnewyork.com. If you are interested in finding out more about one-on-one coaching I offer, go to coaching.howtoflipnewyork.com. If you are interested in, if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe. If you're watching on any media channel, please click the thumbs up. The likes really help the algorithms to get more people to see my videos. I appreciate that. And please keep the comments coming. I post 5 times a week. I don't always know what to say, so I'm begging you to please keep giving me comments, questions. It does not have to be about anything you're watching. It can be about anything. I try to get to my comments back in a couple of days. If it's simple, I'll just reply with an answer. If it's something I've covered before, I'll send you a link to a video or multiple videos on it. And if it's something new or something I haven't covered in a while, then I will do a brand new video on it. Thank you very, very much for watching.